A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are in good. Today is 5th June 2020. 5th June basically is World Environment Day. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote, right? Eye-opening quote. Water and air, the two essential fluids on which all life depends, have become global garbage cans. Think about it. With this, dear friends, I would like to introduce all of you to our SMART course. Some of the best faculties of our country, they have together designed this SMART course. This SMART course is for Civil Services Examination. To find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application. Keep this thing in mind as well that till 10th June, we are providing you this EMI option too. So make the most out of it. I have already shared the PDF of today's lecture on my Telegram channel. You can follow me on Facebook. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On our table, we have total 6 articles. First 2 are about USA and China. Then we have about one from Times of India. This one is about India and Australia. This one is about our defense reforms. And the last 2 are about environment. So let's quickly start with skyrocketing tensions. We know it very well that things are not going that great between USA and China, right? If we talk about some recent events, then USA has decided that it is going to bar passenger planes coming from China into USA from 16th June. USA administration has blamed China that they are the ones who started this thing. It was China who refused to allow USA Airlines to resume flights in the country, and this is a tit for tat from USA. That's what Trump administration is saying. One thing is quite clear that tensions are going up, or there is a rising tensions between the two countries. Here we are talking about two most powerful countries at present, right? They are the ones like the first, number one biggest economy is USA, number 2 is China. And when these two giants, when they fight with each other, when they have clashes with each other, the collateral damage is faced by the whole world. Keep this thing in mind. Now, we have discussed about this thing early on as well, that this trade war is an outer level. Behind the trade war, there is a thing called technological war, right? That is one of the main thing why these two countries are against each other. Technology is in everywhere, in every field, everywhere you find technology. Like the fire that was first produced by human beings, when we controlled fire, when we were capable. I'm talking about primitive man. So introduction to fire was also a big technology for human beings. Then your weapons getting more and more sharper, that was also an upgradation of or innovation of technology. Incremental, though it was a big thing. Invention of wheel was also a big, you can say, radical change. And in today's world, as well as in forthcoming future, a nation that is advanced or nation that is ahead in terms of technology is going to dominate the world. So this is more about a technological war, and because of technological war, we can see a sort of trade war. It all started with Mr. Donald Trump coming in as a president of USA. And so this trade war was going on, and now we know this COVID-19 led war is also going on. Then we have one more layer, a new layer, that is Hong Kong. A few days ago when we were discussing Hong Kong, we talked about this thing that USA has decided to end Hong Kong's special trade status. Now keep this Hong Kong thing in your mind for now. In next article, I'm going to share a very interesting point regarding Hong Kong with you guys. So USA has said that it is going to end this special trade status that it used to bestow on Hong Kong. Now this will not be available to Hong Kong, and it looks like that these two nations are entering into a new Cold War. Cold War was a bit different, to be honest, right? Cold War was between USA and USSR. At present, of course, USA is a big, or China is one of the main rival of USA, but back in Cold War era, these two nations, USA and USSR, they were not economically or financially entangled. Today, Beijing and Washington are both, economically as well as financially entangled, or they are joined with each other. They are dependent on each other. China has already sent signals of de-escalation. China is saying that from 8th June, foreign airlines, including USA Airlines, they can resume flights, but USA is not happy with this thing. And it is also said that the big problem is from last 4 years. It is Mr. Trump whose attitude is a bit hostile towards China. But let's not jump to the conclusion yet, because there are so many interesting things in the next article. This editorial is also saying that this whole era of Richard Nixon's, when he reset this relationship with China, the era of cooperation, peaceful trade, pragmatism, these all things are ending now because of this increasing tensions between USA and China. But there are many layers behind this thing. Let's move on to next one. This one, a chill in US-China relations. This article is written by former Foreign Secretary of India. So this makes this article quite interesting, right? Important. And it becomes interesting because this article is talking about some of the things that I believe we are not aware about, or the world is not that much aware about. We were talking about this trade issue, technological issue. Now this thing means we are witnessing new levels of. There are so many points. Basically, let me put it this way. There are so many points, right? And nowadays we are finding that at every point, this one is technological point, this one is people-to-people contact point. Then you have trade war or trade point, military point, ideological front. Then you have so many other layers. So recently, Trump administration has said that it is going to limit Chinese graduate students and researchers who may have ties with PLA. The US president has also ordered financial regulators. A few weeks ago, this was a big news that if Chinese companies will not follow rules and regulations of USA, then they will be listed from USA's stock market as well. So again, a new layer. And if we go back in the history of USA and China's relationship, then it all started back in 1900s when Protestant missionaries, they decided that it was God's work to bring salvation to the Chinese. Then a few books were written on this thing, and this whole, this article is explaining us this thing, that China has played a big game with a USA. In layman's language, if I can put it in the best or the most simple way, then that is that China has tricked USA for a very long period of time. You can see 4 presidents of USA. I will take you through the mistakes they made. The Chinese allowed them to believe this and extracted their price. Starting with Richard Nixon. We were, in this editorial was saying that the era of cooperation, peaceful trade, pragmatism that had defined the US-China partnership since President Richard Nixon's reset in 1970s seems to have made way for an aggressive leadership contest and deepening mistrust. But the thing that means this top layer things, that cooperation, peaceful trade, pragmatism, these things were just, you can say, a front thing, right? Behind that, the agenda was quite different. So US President Richard Nixon gave China the international acceptability it craved in return for being admitted to Mao's presence in 1972. Then came Jimmy Carter. He terminated the diplomatic relation of USA with Taiwan. This means that you have accepted that Taiwan is part of China. So this was a victory for China. But China was not showing off. China said thank you very much. China was bowing down and saying thank you all the time because China was on a mission, right? Chinese played their tricks very well, and I'm not blaming Chinese people, of course, right? I'm not saying, I'm talking, here we are talking about diplomacy. So it's not like I'm promoting hate against Chinese people, not at all. They are wonderful, lovely people, right? They love their country as much as we love our country. So here we are talking about tactics, and here we are talking about, diplomacy. It's like a system, it's like a factory, right? So you have to look at it from this point of view. Then we have President George H.W. Bush. He washed away the sins of Tiananmen Square in 1989. And then came Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton, he gave some, concessions to China, and China was taken, China became part of this WTO and things. So all these 4 presidents, and till now, basically, what has happened is that China has kept its selfish purpose of self-expansion at the very core. But China used to wear this mask, and this mask was being a friend with the USA was just a sort of tactic of China. Let me take you through one more incident. On your screen, you can see this person here. His name is John Foster Dulles. He said this thing in 1958. Basically, this John used to be foreign minister of USA. So in USA, their post is Secretary of State. Secretary of State is a counterpart of a foreign minister of India, right? So he was basically a foreign minister of USA, and he said this thing in 1958 that we have to keep China and other satellites away from Soviet Union. That means that he talked about this peaceful evolution. Peaceful evolution is like, you have to do something politically in that country, let's say China. So if China is coming closer to, and we are talking about 1958 when Cold War was going on, so if China is trying to be a good friend of Russia, and if Russia or then USSR, then you have to do something in China. How about regime change? How about planting a person who is pro-USA, planting a party that is pro-USA, so that you will have this peaceful evolution rather than war or something. You will place someone who will do what you want, and he or she will behave the way you want them to behave. I hope you are getting me. So that's what he said. And since then, since 1958 till now, from Mao Zedong to Xi Jinping, Chinese leaders, they have kept this thing very clear in that mind that whatever happens, make sure that USA becomes weak. If USA will stay strong, right, then your communist regime will be under threat. So for a very long period of time, this agenda is going on. And this article is saying that this is Mr. Trump who came in, and now he is adjusting all these systems. He is rectifying all these mistakes that were conducted by the previous presidents of USA. And if you see, then he's right. This article is right as well, that China has created an alternative of everything that USA stands for. This Belt and Road Initiative is an alternate trading system. They have arrival of World Bank and IMF. You have this Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Can you tell me where you find the headquarters of this AIIB, and also give me the name of the city that in which you find the headquarters of New Development Bank? They have their global positioning system. They have their digital payment system. They are also this 5G world-class digital network, then Sunrise Industries and military force. So China is getting stronger. It got stronger and stronger till now. And Mr. Trump is trying to clean these things. But both these nations are, they are joined with each other. USA is dependent on China for supply chain, and China is dependent on this USA regarding money and other things. It's a big customer. Now, the most interesting thing about this article that I find is, of course, we have talked about some very interesting things, but Hong Kong is like a Statue of Liberty in the East. Hong Kong, a democratic place. Right now, China has forced this new security law a new national security law on Hong Kong. So this is a big challenge, not just for USA, but it's all about Western democratic ideals. China is challenging Western democratic ideals. Till now, we have seen that everything was so far about technology, trade, and all these tangible things. But now, Hong Kong is taking this whole matter to a new level, to an ideological level. And this is the most interesting part about this article. I hope you have got the main core message here, that this whole rivalry, now it has entered into a new domain, and this domain is ideological domain, right? Physical things, okay, but ideological thing is very, its impact is going to be very long. Like terrorism, killing a terrorist is a different thing. Terrorism is an ideology. Means those who are terrorists, they believe they are right. Now, as far as they believe they are right, all the things that they do, they will think that is right. So ideological domain is a very interesting as well as very challenging thing that this rivalry has entered into. I hope things are clear to you. Moving on to next item, very interesting article again. It's about India and Australia. First virtual summit took place between India and Australia. Good news is that now we have elevated our relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Right, for a very long period of time, India has ignored this middle powers like Australia. Australia is a middle power country. There is a special category called middle power. So these middle power countries are not that much strong, but they are not weak either. So Australia is a middle power nation, and with the help of middle power nations, middle power nations are like a key in changing geopolitical equations. The two sides have now decided to upgrade their foreign affairs and defense relationship as well. And few days ago, we were talking about Indo-Pacific region, we were talking about Australia, we were talking about India, so I'm not repeating all those things here. But one thing that I would like to draw your attention at is that Australia, just like India, is having a very interesting or strategic location in Indian Ocean. When it comes to Indo-Pacific region, Australia has a very strategic position. So that's a strength of Australia, you can say, natural strength. Both nations have decided to go ahead with this mutual logistics support agreement. So that's a big thing. I hope you know the reason or the main meaning behind this thing. It's like we can use each other's facilities. So that will develop our relationship. Australia is, as I've already told you, is right in the middle of Indo-Pacific geographical articulation. Australia is also worried about China's assertive rise. Early on as well, I told you that Australia was the first country that was vocal about initiating a probe or a thorough investigation about the origin as well as spread of coronavirus. Both nations are democratic countries, right? We have good relationship. People-to-people contact are also great. Australia has a reputation of mineral resources powerhouse. We have some common friends like ASEAN. We have this Japan as a common country. Then yesterday we were talking about this G11, from G7 to G11. Australia is also part of this so-called G11 list. And both these nations are part of this Quad as well. So things are moving in right direction. Moving on to next item. This one is about the Swiss cheese model. What is Swiss cheese model? On your screen you can see 4 pieces of cheese and they have holes in it. So these holes represent weaknesses, and this slice of cheese, they represent your system. So I would like to give you this example. I believe this will help you a lot in understanding this whole cheese model, the Swiss cheese model to be precise. So let's say you have one company, right? You have one organization. One department is looking after your marketing, other one is looking after production, other one is looking after your accounts, and the fourth one is looking after your human resources. Now let's say that you find in marketing, right, 20% things are not up to the mark, or 20% wastage. Theft is taking place here, products are wasted here, you're not selling things on time. 75% things are going okay, 25% not good. Same thing with production, 25% loss in production, 75% things are going okay. let's imagine that 25% of your money is being stolen or being diverted, and you know nothing about it, or a company knows nothing about it, and human resources, 25% of people are not performing, let's say. They're doing nothing at all. They're just taking salary and doing nothing. So this, you have on one side strength and weaknesses, but just imagine what happens if everything comes in line, everything happens at once. 25% of your weaknesses, right? 25, 25, 25, 25. If they come in all in one line, then it can lead to a big disaster. Your company can go down as well, isn't it? So this is just Swiss cheese model is about that every organization, they have various different layers. Every system, they have various different layers. They may have weaknesses, and if these weaknesses, God forbid, if they come in one line, then you can see a big accident taking place. So this article is about our defense system. It's not just about Army, Navy and Air Force. It's more than that. It's about Department of Military Affairs, Ministry of Defense. It's about our R&D and manufacturing capacity, and yes, of course, it is about our tri-services as well. Things have changed. Earlier on, war used to be more about your products, how much you have, how many items you have, right? If you have, and we have seen this, we have learned this thing from history and from wars, that it is not important like if you have that many aeroplanes, if you have that big army or that big navy, then you will win a war for sure. No, you need to have that coordination. It's much more than that. It's about strategy. It's about taking right decisions. And it's not just about that war. It's about your preparation, for how long you have been preparing for it. What are the other things? And it's, when I say preparation, it's not just about UPSC. It's more than that. It's about your politics. It's about your citizens. So it's basically like a tree and a fruit or a flower. A flower is basically, everything getting, when your tree getting right environment, right from the seed, then it grows, turns into a big tree. You have birds there, you have bees there, you have whole environment, cyclones coming in, going out, and wind coming and going and everything, and then finally you find a flower on a tree or a plant. So that is, we just see that particular flower, right? But that flower is there because so many things have been right. So in the same way, when your army or navy or air force or your whole defense system is very strong, that means that so many things have been, you took right decisions and right environment was available for its growth and everything, right? So we have this, we have just set up this DMA as well as CDS, and these are some of the most fundamental changes, of course. Now, we are living in a very hostile environment. On one side, we have China. On the other side, we have Pakistan. We had individual wars with both nations as well. And in future, these nations can join hands with each other. Their nexus can be a big threat for us. Our Army, Navy, Air Force, they have their own demands. They need some products, and we can win wars only. You see, technology is going to be one of the most important thing, right? The most advanced planes you have, the most advanced submarines and ships and guns and everything. All these things are of course very important for you to win a war. But wars are won when war fighters have access to the right equipment to prosecute them. If they don't have access to these whole things, then they are not going to win the war. And then we are talking about this command theaters as well. Command theater is, let me put it in very simple words. We have one command theater in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, right? So command theater is your Army, Navy and Air Force. Army, Navy and Air Force, everything under one umbrella. So you have like a proper command theater where you will use the best of all these three wings. These three wings, that the difference will not be visible in command theater. We have just one force that can fight at Army, Navy and Air Force at all three levels, air, land and sea. When we have specialized Army, Navy, Air Force, they have their strengths are basically, diverted. But today's world, we don't need, we are not that much, we have this communication and other facilities. So there are pros and cons of command theaters. I'm not going too deep into command theaters. We have already one video on command theaters on our channel. I think Dr. Mahipal Singh Rathod made one video on this command theater. So if you want to know more about it, you can help yourself with that video. Let me put it in a simple word. What Deng Xiaoping said, that Shun publicity and build capability first. First of all, what we need to do is we need to build our capacity. We are dependent on imports. Our HAL is not able to deliver more than 8 Tejas aircraft per year. Our DRDO is not able to create an assembly line for some guns. So before going ahead with big things, first of all, we need to fix our domestic environment. Then we will see some sort of result, right? That's what this article is all about. Then we have this killing Gaja. Now, so many things you might have seen, videos, news items, and so many things on this thing. And the most important point that I find here, I was going through this editorial, and this thought clicked in my mind, and I want you guys to think about it, right? This line is getting very common nowadays, that rising conflicts between humans and animals. Of course, this is right, that conflicts between humans and animals have gone up. But this is like, again, about identity. It's about ideology as well. We human beings, we have to accept this fact that it is not these animals who are entering our territory. We are the ones who have destroyed their world, right? Even today, we are destroying their habitats. Animals like elephants, right? They travel from one place to another. Our borders, our political borders are creating hurdles for them. Our highways, our so-called development is destroying this animal world. So it is not their fault, right? These people who are laying traps and other things for wild animals. See, we are wild animals for them, right? They are natural. We are wild. We are destroying their habitat. So until and unless, I believe, this is totally my personal opinion, that if we don't change this thing, if we don't have this 180-degree turn in our head about who is wrong, then we are never going to see any sort of change. All these changes will be patchwork. It's like treating the symptoms rather than the main disease. Think about it. With this, last one is about embracing alternative protein. World Environment Day special, 5th June. Of course, we have talked about this thing. So COVID-19, this is not 29, COVID-19 didn't happen in a vacuum. It is a direct consequence of anthropogenic impacts. A few weeks ago, we were talking about this thing. Remember that we have opened the gates. We have created this bridge. There are a few viruses, pathogens, there are a few animals, right? They are okay. They are safe and sound. They are living in their own environment. They are living in that biodiversity. But once you interfere in that biodiversity, it's like a pipeline, right? It's like a pipeline. The water or fluid is passing through. But once you create a small hole, then you will see a big leak, and then you will see this new problem will arise. In the same way, we have created so many holes, and we are continuously creating holes in this pipeline, and this is creating this sort of diseases. Then comes our food system. We are dependent on animals. Not all of us, but many of us are dependent on animals for protein, and this is a big problem as well. This factory farming, development of meat, eggs, dairy, and other things on large scale for industrial animal agriculture. That's what it is all about. And for that, you need huge amount of land. And every year when you make profit, you will purchase another huge amount of land, another huge amount. So you are clearing this natural environment, and you are creating this big piece of land for your animals, right? You are using more animals, you have more milk, you will get more meat, you will get, but you will be using more land, more water. And this is a very interesting fact in this article, that this factory farming contributes more to climate change than emissions from entire transportation sector. This is the most interesting, as well as it's a big eye opener for us, that it is not just this vehicles. More than vehicle, this choice or this our dependence on animal protein is creating more pollution. When it comes to seafood, right, we use these trawlers and other things, and we are not just catching more fish, but we are destroying marine ecosystem. We are degrading environment. We are responsible for species loss, and we are destructing their habitats as well. These things are going on. Even as we are speaking now, so many places around the world, they are using these trawlers and they are destroying because they want to make more and more money. There are so many people, they are smuggling chemicals for more production, agricultural production. They are smuggling this chemical. These factories, they make money, maybe few crore rupees, but they will create this whole trend. And there are so many virgin places where they will use more and more this chemical and pesticides and other things for more production, and that land will get destroyed. That water, air, everything will get destroyed in that country or that region. So Food and Land Use Coalition, World Health Organization, Eat Lancet Commission, what they are suggesting is that we need to diversify our protein sources. There is this campaign going on, chickpeas over chicken. That may work, not work, that's a different thing. But there is one alternative protein thing available. Fake chicken, fake meat is available. It's been more than 10 years now that this thing is available, and you can buy them in packets. If you visit some big stores in our country, today in our country as well, you will find these things. They are made up of corn. So this thing is an alternative, to meat. People will not quit eating meat, but if they have one alternative and if they are made aware that this thing is as nutritious, as tasty, and you have to use the same cooking methods and other things, then there are chances like people will switch over. And we have to switch over. There are so many people, they are vegetarian for the sake of religion. Okay, it's their choice. There are people who are non-vegetarian, maybe because of religion or maybe culture. Whatever it is, we have to change our eating habit, not because of religion, but because of our environment, right? This is a thing that all of us has to think about, that this thing is contributing more to climate change than emission from entire transportation sector. So we have to change ourselves, our food habits, for the sake of environment, if not for religion, then for the sake of environment. And we can do this thing. We have this direct animal cells are used for creating this sort of fake meat and fake products, and they are healthy, right? It's not like, mind you, they are healthy. They are not unhealthy for us. Singapore, Canada, they have already making this alternative protein a central piece of their food security story, and something that we can do this thing as well. Like for India, it's like telephone and mobile phone. We were not that great in telephone, right? When I say telephone, I'm talking about this landlines. But we are number one, or we are very, the cheapest as well as most competitive on earth. Telecommunication industry is here in our country, in mobile telecommunication industry to be precise. So there is no point of producing more and more meat and more eggs and more dairy items, right? Rather than we can think about and develop this alternative protein industry, which is more scientific, which is more, you can say, environmental friendly compared to this traditional method. So this is going to be the future, and this is the area where we can create more jobs, and this can create more opportunities for a country like India. So dear friends, if you like or if you have been here till now, then you have watched the full video or nearly full video. So please make sure that you share this lecture with other students, and hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. I'll see you soon with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.